Well, hey, I thought while enjoying a cup of wonderful Francisco's French pressed coffee, that I would share some things with you that I've learned being on YouTube for about 2 years. These are out of my front yard. Is that gorgeous or what? Flowers. Important too, once in a while, to do what I just did. So, real quick and easy, quick and dirty. Number one, thing. And another thing, with viewership on my channel anyway, about 4 minutes and 14 seconds per video viewing time, you got to keep content short. So the idea of putting a 20-minute video out is YouTube suicide. If you don't, as I used to say this about a preacher at church, if you can't get across what you want to say in 10 minutes, you don't deserve 30. The thing I've learned being on YouTube is that I am not a viral personality, but I gave it a shot and I've had a ton of fun. My goal was initially to be helpful, trying to fill in gaps of things I couldn't find on YouTube. And in doing so, of course, my head filled with dreams of becoming a sensation. But it turns out that I'm just not. I'm a nice enough guy and I'm kind of fun to hang around with one-on-one. Students like me fairly well, but I'm not an explosive viral personality. But I would never have known that, if I hadn't given this a shot. So that's the first thing I learned. Your experience might be different, but you won't know unless you try. Number two, there's an awful lot of nice people on YouTube, and it's kind of restored my faith in humanity, because not only have I run into and developed relationships with a lot of nice people, and a lot from Canada on YouTube, but being part of that community has been a ton of fun, and there's a small group of people I have developed online relationships with, and that has been fun. And along the way, I've had my faith restored in people a few times by making online buys and purchases in which the buyer and I exchanged money and item at the same time. So it was both trusting the other person to do what they said they would do. And it's worked out great. I've shipped things usually to the US. I had one exchange with a guy in Greenland, which was interesting because of customs. He had me mark up the package in a very specific way so it would slide through more easily. But that's been nice. You know, there's a lot of nice people out there that you can still trust. And when they say they'll send you a check, you can send them the item and it works out. So that's nice. Number three, I've learned that there are some incredibly talented YouTubers out there. Some very talented people that are the whole package. They're the players, the performance, the live artists. They know their stuff about the electronics aspect of tube amps and guitars, and they have personalities that lend themselves to being an online personality, and they have enough confidence, if that's what you want to call it, to be wacky enough to draw in, to do the crazy stuff. But they're also incredibly talented, like Jared Dines is an incredible guitar player. He's also a band member. He's toured. So he's the whole package, and hats off to these guys, because it's a super strange thing when that big red button gets hit or that light goes on. Weird things happen. You can play something very nicely over and over and over again, and yet when it comes time to put it together, record it, it just falls apart, or it's a lot harder. And it's been that way for me since the 80s, when I did a lot more recording than I do now. But Jared Dines, Shane from In the Blues, another incredible guitar player, and his personality. One thing about Shane is he never has badmouthed anybody. It's just always straightforward guitar demos, etc. Beards and Gruff, Sonic Drive Studio, Stevie T. That guy, incredible guitar players, as well as somebody that's able to put together a very interesting video that's more than just a pedal review. Jared Dines had done some small movies that were super fun. Stevie T, the stuff he does in re-editing stuff. Had to fill my cup. But Stevie T, incredible. Anyway, lots of incredible players out there that are the total package. Okay, other thing. And the effort these people have put into. This is another thing I've learned. That these are not overnight sensations. Shane from In the Blue. Why do I keep wanting to say balloons? Shane from In the Blues has been doing this for 10 plus years. Jared, another long timer. Stevie T, long timer. These people have put in a decade of work already. HP is another incredibly talented guy. I like him because he's also a producer. He's very talented at writing as well as a fun online personality, and his videos are top notch. So that's another thing. But they've put in the time. They've put in the time, which is something if you're a new YouTuber, something you want to think about, because don't expect. But it does happen for 1 or 2 years into this for somebody to blow up. But many of these people have been doing this a long time, and you have to just stick it out and keep it up. Some other interesting things I've learned is that Thomann is actually pronounced Thomann, and it's not in the UK, it's in Germany. I also learned that ASAT, like as in the GNL, ASATs, reportedly stands for Anti-Satellite Aircraft Technology, or something like that. It's kind of anecdotal. I don't know if there's hard evidence for that. That's what a lot of people claim. I think it preaches a lot better that it stands for another strat, another telly. That in a meeting, Leo Fender came in and said, based on what I'm hearing out there on the street, all people want is another strat and another telly. So, but 6 half one dozen to the other. Anyway, it's weird that a guitar guy would want it to be anti-satellite stuff. I know the guy, his business partner was a techie dude, and I get that, but I like it. I think it preaches better the other way. I've also learned there's actually 1 or 2 good Chapman guitars out there. Relax. And another thing regarding Chapman guitars. I've played about 10 at this point. They just don't resonate with me for the price. They're fine, but when you have a Seymour Duncan loaded Charvel next to it for $100 more, the feel of a Charvel is, to me, and the Seymour Duncan's superior for the extra $100. But I was really curious about the thin line. He's got 2 thin line models that I'm aware of. One's that really neat orange one with the P90s in it, and then a newer one that's Obsidian. It's got humbuckers that can be split, so I'm not as crazy about that I don't like humbuckers split, as well as just some good single coil pickups for that kind of guitar. But there's a 24 fret neck on his thin line. Who does that? You buy a Telecaster for some quack, and you lose a lot of the quack when you put a 24 fret neck on a guitar. The reason that it has that quack is because the neck is shorter, and you can put that neck pickup further from the bridge, so it's in the part of the string that really wows a lot more, and that's what gets you a lot of that quack and difference in tone. Anyway, so who does that? Relax. I know that YouTube is big enough for everyone. And another interesting thing is videos I thought were going to be a flop were actually pretty good success as far as rating or what views goes, ratings. Other ones I thought were going to be a smash ended up being by the wayside. I did a toilet valve repair video just because it was something, and again, I'm trying to fill in gaps on YouTube. So I couldn't find anything about my toilet valve and how to replace the seal, a dual flush economy toilet valve. And so once I figured it out, and once you know it, you have to twist the thing to the right, which is counterintuitive. Usually to loosen things, you turn them to the left. Anyway, I had to turn it to the right. So I did a short video on that, and it's had something like 4,000 views, and a lot of the comments have been from people thanking me very much for putting this up, because the Kohler website was trash, and they didn't have any idea. They couldn't find the information either until they came across the video, which makes me feel good. So if your goal is to be helpful, you can't go wrong on YouTube. If your goal is to make money or be a huge success, you may end up disappointed. I also learned that Ishipish is actually pronounced HP. That's how you spell it in German. So that's been kind of interesting, and people have, for the most part, been nice in explaining that. Sometimes you get the jerk that just, is a jerk. All right, number 5 on my list is that without a sponsor, content is going to be an issue. Somebody like Phil McKnight that has access to a music store, he owned one at one time, and he may have to go back to try and do that, depending on how his YouTube channel ends up. But unless you do have content, like access to new pedals, new amps, new gear, you're really going to be struggling for content, for video content. The guitarologist should have an unlimited supply of amps to repair, which is kind of his thing. And my heart goes out to the guitarologist. Apparently he's going through some hard times right now, finding the world a hard place to be happy in. Can relate to that. It's a wacky place. But you do what you can to make peace with it. There's a lot you just have to let go and realize that that pendulum swings back and forth over time between conservatism, socialism, Republicans, Democrats, whatever side you're on. There's always a swing, over the middle spot, and it's going to happen. And it's as wacky on one side as it is the other. So number 6, subbing. Subbing helps everyone and doesn't crowd your feed unnecessarily. So go ahead and sub free. Sub right now. Sub to my channel. Just subbing to somebody isn't going to increase the amount of content you get from them unless you hit the notification bell and or slap a bunch of likes. Then YouTube's going to feed you some more of their content. But just subbing is good for whoever's putting the video out there and doesn't cause you any pain at all. So go ahead, sub freely. Anybody that does a nice job with something, I sub right away. I probably sub, in a morning when I'm looking at YouTube, I might subscribe to 3 or 4 or 5 different people if they did a nice job on a video. Helps everybody. Number 7, I think you're going to need some crazy mad editing skills. So be very familiar with computer editing, video editing, overlays, multi-camera projections. The Metal Trump guy, what an incredible task he has. He takes actual news footage, clips, and pieces together all sorts of little words, puts them on an auto-tune, and has Trump singing metal songs. Which is, sometimes it works really well, sometimes it's meh, but that's crazy cool editing skills. HP42, Lil Henning, he's got 10 cameras and Leslie in a booth for his videos. So, that's getting up beyond anything I could ever even hope to do. I'm never going to run more than 1 or 2 cameras. And he has 10 running with different views all the time. So, be aware of that if you want to be competitive. You also don't want to overprocess your videos, in my opinion. I really appreciate a room microphone as opposed to a long signal chain. Sometimes in speaker comparisons, I can't tell when it goes from one speaker to the other because the signal, the music has been so polished that it's very hard to discern any change in tone. And I know that's part of YouTube's compression and whatnot, but sometimes people will run their signal through multiple mics, through 2 notes, and then through some sort of electronic plug-in, and before it ever gets to the workstation. And by that time, you've lost a lot of the the organic tone of the guitar or the amp. So I prefer a good room mic. I think it's a little more honest. So beware of overprocessing your stuff. Sonic Drive Studios is someone I would call out on that. Incredible musician. And again, you've got a studio situation where those guys have access to gear. They'll always have access to gear. And so to compete with someone like that is going to be very difficult. But one thing I've noticed, like when he did his orange amp comparison, there was very little change from one orange amp to the next I had 3 in my room here, an Aura 15, a Brent Hines, and a Rocker 15, Rocker Terror 15. And there's a substantial difference between those heads, and it was pretty easy to clear. But on his channel, I could hardly tell when they switched from one to the other because of the, I think, over-processing of the signal. Okay, have I said enough about that? No, So another really important thing is if you want to be successful, you need to have a script of some sort so that you don't just do a bunch of one-takes like me and end up saying things you don't mean to say and forgetting things you'd like to say, like Paul of old. So do that. Have a script. Go over it. Practice. Guess what came in the mail today? No, number 8. As best you can, save old content because you can monetize after the fact. In order to monetize, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and so many monthly minutes of video that's being viewed. So save your best, at least. Save some of your old, more interesting content, and then once you do monetize, you can go back and monetize all those pre-existing videos. Okay? So do that. I'm also going to include a recent interview with the Guitar Geek. He had an interview with HP, with Henning, on making guitars with money. It was very interesting, and one thing HP said, he thinks the YouTube market is saturated. He doesn't think there's any more room for a new YouTube star. And I disagree. YouTube is huge. I'm still running into people. I'm still getting things in my feed, like when I did searches for Orange amps or Mesa Mark 525, something I will hopefully get in the mail today. But when I did searches for those, I came across limited videos. However, YouTube is still giving me videos that didn't come up right away from people I've never heard of, and they're great, and they have a huge following, so they're pretty significant players already, and they didn't come up right away. So the struggle will be to get yourself out there. In order to do that, I think you have to have a large social media platform. You have to be connected, Facebook, Twitter, Snap, all that stuff. And then you've got to put up a bit of money up front, I think, too, to get enough interesting new gear to make your channel something that comes up, which is difficult. For example, I ordered a Spark amplifier, the Positive Grid Spark. Genuinely interested in finding a solid-state practice amp that sounds good and doesn't sound like a solid-state amp. Am I ever going to find it? I don't know. I've had the Vox, I've had the Boss, I've had the Katana, I've had all of the newest, best, at one time, modeling type amps, and they just, to me, don't cut it. It's not the same in the room, and I don't want to play it. But I thought the Spark, because I give lessons as well, the Spark might be a really cool tool. So I ordered one 7 months ago now, last year in 2019, December of 2019. And so I've been on the waiting list forever. And who gets them first? McKnight gets it. Robert Baker gets it. Well, I can't think of all of them right now, but you know, a lot of people are getting those Sparks months ahead, and by the time I get one, and if I would like to review it, everybody will have already seen it. It will have been on YouTube for 4 or 5 months, 3 months, 4 months already. So it's very tough to be cutting edge unless you're a bigger name, a bigger fish. All right. So lastly, I was going to talk a little bit too about one of my videos I thought was going to be huge, and I think I forgot about. The toilet one I thought was going to be, and it ended up with a very good response, very well taken. The one I thought, the biggest disappointment I think I've had was the EVH LBX2 biasing video, which was something I couldn't find, and I didn't think it was out there. I thought people would be all over that. So I did a biasing video of the amp. It's very easy to do. And I put that on YouTube, and it's been very quiet. So I thought it'd be huge. Anyway, you never know. Then number 9, be yourself and let your niche find you. Be willing to change. Be open to reviewers' comments. In whatever you're going to be, a reviewer, if you're going to give lessons, if you're going to be a commentary, but don't be afraid to go into other aspects. You know, dive into the political if you want once in a while, which is a tough deal to be in, and you'll have a one-sided audience, in my opinion. And that's just so upsetting. Who wants to do that? But do you really want to be a reviewer also? Do you want to have to review 4 pedals every week? How many overdrives can you get in that are going to be that much different? Something I've learned is guitars, amps, overdrive pedals, really, they all do the same thing. And if you're waiting for that one particular tone or that one amp or that one guitar or that one pedal to unleash your creativity or make you that player you think you can be, then you're going to be sadly disappointed. But as a YouTuber, do you really want to review stuff? It's hard to review equipment all the time, especially speakers. Amps to set up the mics, to undo the chords and do them up again, and to try and get the levels and the tones that are similar. And how do you want to approach it? Are you going to do all knobs at 12 o'clock, or are you going to try to find good similar tones with the knobs in different places? And there's always going to be somebody that's disappointed. And on the other side of that, the tone you find in your room is not the same as the tone that comes out on YouTube. So that can be kind of a letdown as well. When I don't hear the differences come back that I heard in the room, then my review is pointless anyway. Does that make sense? So I've put a lot of time into doing a review, and then what I hear on playback doesn't highlight the differences I think are so important between the 2 pieces of equipment. Listening to YouTube is a good place to start if you want to look at a new piece of gear, but you really can't go wrong, or the best way to do it is to play it, of course. So be open, but let your niche find you, and then realize you got to stick it out and be willing to put the time in. If you do that, well, you'll have some success. If your goal is to help people, be helpful, then you will be successful from the start. There's been some surprises on YouTube. There are people that I thought would do real well who just couldn't handle it, couldn't take it. It was too upsetting. There's people I thought were terrible. And wouldn't you know it, they're up to 40,000 subscribers in a year. So you never know. So anyway, enjoy. Old guy jamming out with some thoughts on being a YouTuber. Let me know if you have things to say about it. I appreciate all your subs. Appreciate the time with you. Have a great day. Take time. Take time to do that, and take time to do this. And smile.